And we're live. Hello, everyone. Hey, Robbie.
Oh, Itzik. Wow. 6 hours. It feels like a lifetime ago since we first spoke here. A
Yeah,
lot
yeah,
has
yeah.
happened today, but that was fun.
That
That
was
was
fun.
fun.
We still have almost 5 minutes to go, but it seems like we have the picture of the winners. We're going to do the countdown very soon in like 4 minutes. We're going to count down and, finish the game. Then we're going to announce the winners. We're going to talk about that. But this was really, really fun playing here. A lot of good stuff, great questions. Overall, very, very nice participation, which, was really a pleasure to host this event and see all those talented people here. Yeah. So, Robbie, do you have anything you wanted to add before we start with kind of like final words?
Um, I think there's 3 minutes left here, so I cannot wait to count down till the end. We can see on the scoreboard that the top three has already formed. We can also see that there have been some heavy hitters like these people. Some of them are insane. All of them are insanely skilled. So
Mhm.
that's awesome to see. But I also want to add that I've seen some great victories on Discord. I know that there was one person who said, "This is my first ever CTF. Challenge one, I was able to solve it. That was not too difficult. But then challenge two, he really struggled. But in the end, he solved it. He spent 4 hours on it, but in the end, he got that solution. He did it all on his own, even though it seemed impossible at the start.
Mhm.
And I think that is true for kind of anything that you do in the ethical hacking world, even as a developer, honestly. Like in the beginning, everything seems like a mountain to climb over, but you just need to start placing those steps, putting your foot down
Mhm.
and getting cracking, and then things will start working out. So I think that's also an awesome message to see from the
Absolutely,
CTF.
perseverance for sure. Absolutely, yes. So if you're a beginner, perseverance. Even if you're not a beginner, you
Mhm.
probably know that. But you know, getting there and solving it can be step by step. It could be just step by step solving it is the only way to go, because the entire problem in many cases, not maybe not the very easy ones, but it's just multiple steps, and you need to understand each and every one separately and then combine everything together. And Yeah, that's definitely a good takeaway here. So we have less than 2 minutes to go. So if you guys are working on your last payload, it's a good time to start thinking about submitting it, to get maybe final points. As I mentioned before, the game will stop, and then I will, audit the results. We will announce the results right now. It's going to be, the announcement is going to be almost formal because that's what we see on the screen. We're just going to check that there were no, abnormal behaviors behind the scenes, and then, the results will become final. Then we will. I mean, the game is going to be closed for between few hours and 20 or 48 hours, and then reopen for those of you who want to play. And why would you play? First of all, you may be started, and sometimes you're going to say, "Hey, I want to still solve it," which is great. And also, we're going to go through the solutions right now. We're not going to give you the payloads, but we're going to go through the solutions and the ideas so that you guys can go back and try it again. And now with a little bit more knowledge, and after you gave it a try.
And also, if you're in the chat, in the YouTube chat, feel free to ask specific questions when we go through the challenges, because this is your chance to kind of ask us questions. I also see CC in the chat saying cool challenges. Thanks, CC. We put a lot of effort into trying to make challenges that are one sometimes easy enough so that we can be accessible to everyone, but then on the other hand, also difficult enough so that we can have some heavy hitters like Dragos, Yorian, and Skitty still enjoy themselves, and hopefully we take at least 3-4 hours of their time to solve it.
Yep.
So it's a
Nine,
difficult balance to strike. Oh,
eight,
seven,
seven, six,
six,
five,
4,
three,
3,
two,
2,
one,
1.
and
Woo!
that's it.
We survived it,
Good
Sig.
job, everyone.
We did it once again.
Refresh one
Awesome.
last time just to see. Okay, so the picture is very clear right now. The game is off, so you will see it should be locked. I mean, if it's open, let us know. It shouldn't be. And this is the picture. Dragos, first place. Great game. I mean, a little bit after, halftime. Which 1 p.m. was halftime, right? It was like so.
Yep.
3.5 hours into the game, solved the entire 6, which is amazing, not less. Because again, there are some very difficult ones here. 4, 5, and 6, I would say, are definitely, not easy, not easy at all. Maybe hard. And so, Hyorian, I hope I'm pronouncing your name. If I'm butchering it, I do apologize in advance. And you've been with us for a while. You're also solved the 6 a little bit later, about half an hour later, but still, a third of the time before it ended. So it was quite a while ago. Very great, very good game here too. And Skitty, who won the last flag half an hour after Yorian. Really great game, guys. And all of you who solved 5 as well, and 4 and even 3, it's not easy. It's not easy to get there. I see a lot of people solve 4. A few people solved 3. Some of you solved only 2, but probably worked hard to solve it. So it's great to see the participation. We have very nice participation. 39 people were able to solve something. We're perseverant enough to solve something. So that was a great game. Robbie, what do you want to say about it?
This game has been awesome. Like once again, I cannot believe, like, every time I think this time the challenges are too difficult, they're not gonna get through it. And I was surprised once again, because for challenge 4 everybody found a kind of unintended solution that I didn't even think of myself, so that's always cool to see. Even for challenge 6, a little alternative solution was found that is slightly easier than what I had planned out. This just shows how difficult it is to write secure code, because even if we're trying to put vulnerabilities in our code and we're trying to make a path for you to follow, we still fail in doing that, which is funny to see, because it just shows how important security testing is for code, because you can review some of this code for hours and not find anything wrong with it. Like, I think with challenge 6 you can review it for a long time and not find any issues, until you start piecing little things together and it just works out. It's cool to see. I also see in the chat we have somebody saying that were nice challenges, that it was his first time playing the CTF. Somebody saying that he was 2 minutes late for challenge 4, which is that's gotta sting a little bit. But yeah, cool to see.
Yeah. Great game. So here's what we're going to do. So first of all, I want to, for those of you who are planning to take off before we review the challenges, which I think is a mistake, but if you do that, at a minimum, know that if you solve challenges, you can write write-ups. And that will pay off, because you're going to get swag. But also, it's an opportunity to rethink and to kind of I think the opportunity for self-education, when you start, writing it down, starting to play it in your head and try to replay stuff, and where did I start, how did I think about it, and so forth. Your thought process could be very interesting for folks to kind of read. So if you write write-ups ranging from challenge 1 to 6, whether you solved it or not, as we mentioned before, even if you haven't solved it, where did you get stuck, what was hard, that could be interesting. Write as many challenges, as many write-ups as you can for challenges that you solved or didn't solve for a reason, and we will review them. So you can post them on the Discord. You can post them on LinkedIn and tag hashtag code Wizer, which is great, or Wizer CTF. I can't remember if it's code Wizer or Wizer CTF. Tag both just in case, so that we can find them there and put them on the list. We're going to review them. We're going to rank them, but in many cases, most to all people get some swag, because we're happy to give away stuff when you guys took the time to think about it and actually wrote an educational piece. So that's what's going to happen now. We're giving 2 weeks for that. Okay, so if you're taking off again, 2 weeks from now through the following Sunday. I'm going to check the date. Can't remember the date now, but the following Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern, you can still submit write-ups. Try to submit them early so you won't forget, and we will review them. So that is one thing I wanted to say. The second thing which we're going to do right now is we are going to. Oh wait, before I start with that, obviously the winners here are going to be contacted by our marketing team, and they're going to get paid based on the rewards, like $600 for the first place Dragos, and then Hyorian the $300, and Skitty the rest of the amount, which is $100.
Yes.
So we are going to reach out to you, our marketing team, and make sure you get paid. It was a pleasure to pay for that, because really great game. And then now what we're going to do is we're going to review the challenges. So I'm going to review with you challenge number 1 and 2. We're not going to give you the payloads, but we are going to walk you through the thought process and what you need to do. And then I'm going to transfer it over to Robbie to go through challenges 3 to 6. Okay, Robbie, anything before I start?
No, I think we're all ready and set to get into the idea and the thought process behind the challenges.
Perfect. Okay, so challenge number 1, which I think all of you solved. Wait a second. Yes, definitely all of you solved. No, wait, 36.
Yeah, sorry, that was me. That was me. The last
okay.
I checked.
All of you solved challenge number 1. So let's go through quickly with it, because I know some of you might not even solve it, and it's fine. It's fine. Not even that is easy. So what is the problem here? The problem is legacy code. Okay, that's what we said when we gave the hint. Someone kept compatibility backwards and kept an alternative format. In this case, it's an XML. Okay, so this API endpoint that accepts some sort of payload, okay, to receive data from somewhere, it doesn't even matter what, right? Actually preserved compatibility with XML that probably was there before and they didn't want to break. So they separated it and they said the main default format is going to be JSON. There's no problem with that. This is code that is solid. And then the fallback is if it's a string, okay, if the content is a string and it includes caret, it means that maybe it's an XML. So what are we trying to do? We're loading it and then parsing the information. The only problem is, okay, that we are parsing the XML using libxml.js, which if we're not careful and we're putting this tag in, which is, by the way, deprecated, there's another one replacing it, but it's the same thing, meaning that it actually replaces entities. So what it does, if you inject into your XML an entity with kind of like the file inclusion, which is actually going to go to the file and read it and include it into the XML. Entity. Okay, so someone is asking, what is entities? Okay, so those pieces, those elements on the XML are called entities. Okay, they have attributes. Replace entity means that you can go somewhere else and import the entity from an outside world. You can fetch an entity from a file. That's what we'll do here. We're going to say, hey, the entity is actually a file that is there, right? So that's exactly what we'll do here with the payload. We're going to use entity. We're going to call it system, and then we're going to specify the path. You look it up, you'll find that vulnerability. This vulnerability is called XXE, by the way, if you're still wondering. What's the name? It's XXE. It's XML injection. Okay, and that was the problem here. So whoever tries to do it, if you put in your payload, you put an XML, you use the entity tag, you make it system, you import the file. That's it. You get the access to the host file. It gets included. It's called file inclusion, and that's it. Robbie, did I miss anything here?
No, I think that's very, very clear. And this is something maybe we've said before, it is found in a real world. In a real world, like whenever you're testing an API endpoint that accepts JSON, just try to set the content type to application/XML and see what the server does. Just see, does it accept it? Does it give me errors? And from there, you can kind of check for this vulnerability. It's something that you should always check if you're testing an application or building an application even. So yeah, really quick to check as well. So always do it.
Absolutely. And it's amazing to see that it still exists, because people say, who's using XML? It's not relevant. Well, you'll be surprised, because it's relevant because of legacy code. People today don't start an app and use XML as their data structure. But yeah, you still have to preserve compatibility sometimes, and that's where it happens. Challenge number 2. Okay, let's try to be quick here. So here on this challenge, there are 2 vulnerabilities that you need to hop over in order to get the flag. You need to create 1 exclusive object, I remind you, 1 exclusive pending approval, and 1 standard object. Okay. So if you look closely here, there are 2 endpoints. We already talked about it. Report bug. So that's where you set your bug. And then there's an endpoint that actually creates objects. It actually doesn't do anything, but it should have created an object in a real world. Okay, but it's enough to show the vulnerability. The vulnerability here, we set it on when we went through the hint. We said that the vulnerability here is SSTI. Okay, server-side template injection. What is the template here? We're using an EJS template, template renderer. Okay, and we're replacing elements. But if someone injects into our template, another tag that could bear, things that are outside of the template, we can include that here. So it's very easy to see that the avatar is included here. The avatar is not included just as an input, but it's included as an image with a data source, base 64, and the base 64 is here. Within the base 64, instead of base 64, nobody's checking that it's base 64 actually. You can include the tag, which is %, and actually, inject into there what you need. And what do you need in this case? You would need this guy, the passcode, okay? So if you include that there, you will reveal the passcode. So that's step number 1. You need to do that. Once you have the passcode, you're almost there. You can create an object that is an exclusive object, but it is going to be automatically approved. But if you want to make it unapproved, okay, then you would need to pollute the prototype, okay, and cause the approved to be false, okay. And to do that, you would need to use prototype pollution, which is the second trick that you would need to do here. Prototype pollution _ proto. Read about it, see how it's done. And then with prototype pollution, you can override the value of approved, and you can create an unapproved object. And that's it. So you create 1 automatically exclusive object that is automatically approved, 1 that is pending approval, and 1 standard that is easy. You don't need anything in order to create a standard object. Anything that I missed, Robbie, you think here?
No, somebody in chat says, where did you need prototype pollution? Because they just added approved false in their request, and apparently that worked. So I suppose that somebody found a way to do it even without the prototype pollution, which is cool to see.
Interesting. We checked it, but maybe we missed something. I would love to see. If you can send me the payload, I'll take a look.
Yeah, actually, if you could send the full payloads, we'd love that, because we can also learn from that. But even with the prototype pollution, it's even for us easier to solve it that way. So
Yep. Absolutely. So that was this one, and I will stop sharing, and we'll let you, Robbie, share your challenges number 6.
We're at challenge 3, which is you have to become blobs owner to get the flag. And this was the challenge that had the cute little blob that followed you, and you had to supply them a JWT token that kind of proved that you are the admin. And this code is in Java, so you just have your main code. It doesn't really do anything interesting, except for that when you send a request, it is going to create a token for you where you are the guest, where your role is a guest. And if you set your role to admin, then you solve it. So you get a token, and then there's also an auth endpoint. So whenever you send the token back to Blob, then the auth endpoint gets called. And if you are the admin, then it says, welcome back, owner. Here's your flag, else you're not the owner. So pretty simple challenge. The isAdmin check is going to take in your JDBT token, and it's going to check it. It's going to process your token, and then if you're the admin, well, it's going to say everything is fine. What is interesting about this? That is this X5U key selector. So in the JWT specifications, there are so many different things that JWT supports. There are so many different headers and stuff it supports. And one of the things it supports, it's something called X5U. And what is the idea of this? The idea is that you can provide a URL to a private key, to a certificate that is going to be used to sign the JWT token. So JWT tokens, they are signed with a secret or an RSA key or a certificate. And somebody thought it was a good idea to add in the blueprints of JWT that it can support a URL to fetch a certificate. So what is the solution here? You are going to take that JWT token, and in the header, you are going to supply the X5U claim and set that to a URL you control. So attacker.com, for example. Then on attacker.com, you're going to host a certificate. Well, obviously, you control that certificate, so you can then also validly sign the token, send that back. The server is going to check that URL, check the signature is correct, which is going to be correct, and that way you're going to become an admin. So this is kind of abusing a feature that is, well, just present in the JWT specification and that nobody should ever implement. But in the past, some websites have actually implemented it, and, well, that can cause some issues. So that was challenge 3, a pretty fun one where you have to dig deep into the specification. 20 people solved it, so very well done. And if anybody has any questions, I see that somebody said that ChatGPT told them about that. Yeah, I think ChatGPT, of course, is trained on the specification, so they will definitely know about this. So it's cool to see that you used AI to help you solve this. Great. Challenge 4. Challenge 4 was the shopping list website where you could upload a CSV file with your shopping list, and then there's also some plugins that work on that shopping list. What is the vulnerability here? Well, if you're going to upload a file, then you can supply a file name. That happens here. And your file name is then URI decoded, and it's used as the new file name appended with a GUID and .csv, and it's then just joined with the upload directory. So what could you do? Well, you could supply a .. URI encoded, so URL encoded in the name of the file, and that would allow you to get a arbitrary file upload. So with that .. you can go through the file system and upload, files anywhere. So you can upload files anywhere. And if we scroll down, there's this endpoint /run, and /run is going to take a parameter with a file name, and it's then eventually going to require that file name. So this means that you can upload a file that is going to contain JavaScript and then require that file again, which is going to execute the JavaScript if you upload it into the plugins directory. Those two things combined are, of course, very critical, but there is some protection mechanism in place. And that is that the file that you can upload must be a CSV with 3 columns, a name, a quantity, and a price. So the name has to be, cannot be longer than 10 characters. So, you only have a short space, and then you have to have comma and a number that is not none. So that is a number, and else it won't succeed. Now, I was very foolish, and I thought that parse float here in JavaScript would mean that you could only supply a float as the price or the quantity. That turns out to be not the case. You can just supply a number and then have a semicolon followed by any text. And JavaScript parse float is like, yep, that's perfectly fine for a number, which I find quite annoying because that was a bypass for the challenge, because the real challenge was to really create a CSV file where you have, name, comma, number that would also execute as valid JavaScript. And that was possible in a couple of ways. You could, for example, build strings in the name where you have 10 characters. So you build some strings and then you eval them at the end, and then you comment out the rest of the numbers where you have a valid CSV and valid JavaScript, which is pretty cool. But to anybody who found the bypass, also pretty cool that you found that, because I definitely did not. So yeah, that's challenge 4. I see no questions in the chat, so I'm going to take that as that is all fine. And then I am going to move on to challenge number 5. And I think a lot of people got very, very stuck on this one. So in this one, we have a movie script generator. It's once again in Java. So the generate endpoint will generate a script for you, and here it will include your input, but your input is actually a WAF is applied to it, and then this whole string is going through a templating engine. So it's clear because there's a templating engine being used, and you can inject into the template. This is an SSDI. I see somebody in chat saying it has a UI. Yes, indeed, it does have a UI. A very limited UI, but you can use this as the UI. So this is a classical SSDI, but you're only allowed to use these characters, which makes it very, very tricky to exploit. And one of the first things that you need to figure out if you want to exploit this is you want to start to be able to build arbitrary strings. Because in order to exploit this, you're going to need to build strings. And how can you build strings? Well, there's a couple of ways to do it. What did I do? I will quickly just show you part of my exploit script. I used dot version. And then, for example, if I needed a dot, I would use dot version and then use that as an array. And then using dot version and the length, I could actually get specific characters and do use the length as numbers, and if you divide the length by the length, then you would get 1. So the first part of the version is going to be a dot. But then if I actually needed letters, I would input this string. So I would use an attempt, which is like a try-catch in this time-leaf engine. And then with a recover, it would throw an error. And that error I could then use as dot error, and from that error I could then use it as an array to kind of select strings, again with this version.length to create numbers. So you really create you create a list of characters, and then you create numbers out of the things that you're allowed to build, and from that you're able to build crazy stuff. So it's pretty fun. My solution is definitely very long. I did not spend a lot of time optimizing it, but I see people in the chat suggesting to do a code golf for this. I love that idea. Let's see who can build the shortest possible payload. Somebody is saying, Dragos is saying that their payload is 2,366 characters long. XT apparently has a payload of below 2,000 characters. So that is cool to see. So I think there's a lot of optimization possible here for sure. So I'd be excited to see who can get it down to the shortest in the end. So that was a pretty fun challenge in my opinion, a little bit different from the other ones, a bit more CTF-y and playful. But then we get to the 6th challenge, which in my opinion is the coolest one. So this is the code storage challenge, where you could create your own code and you get a password and stuff like that. So how does it work? Well, you can claim your code snippet, and then it says it's going to give you a link to your code snippet, and it's also going to generate you your whole own OAuth login. So you get your own client ID in OAuth and client secret in OAuth and so on. And that is all pretty cool. You get your own redirect URI, so it's a full own OAuth flow. There's also this whenever you get your code snippet, it's going to redirect you to the success page, which is going to have a link to your code itself. And then, there's a whole system on your code where you can be allowed to edit it or not. You have your own login page on your code snippet, which is going to redirect to stuff and so on. So it's like a full OAuth flow, a lot of code here to handle that. Now, there is also an administrator, so you can report code, and the administrator is going to visit the code snippet. It's first going to log in to its own code snippet and then visit it. And then it's going to tell you, well, the URL was, the admin is looking into it, or if there's a 404 error, it's going to say, well, the admin didn't find anything at the URL. So how do you solve this? Well, what you could do is you could build a name for your code, and the name for your code would contain ... and could then point you somewhere else. So if the admin then visits that, then here it's going to be ... and you can kind of direct the admin to anywhere on this website. So what you could do is you could direct the admin back to the authorized URL for the flag. And since the admin is already logged in, the OAuth flow is going to complete and the admin is going to be logged in. But of course, then it's just going to say the admin is looking into it, because the admin just validly logs into their own URL. So you're exploiting the client-side path reversal is what it's called here if you do the ... here. But you're not getting anything. However, using something called MySQL collation issues, you could actually build a character. Like you can use, for example, a Greek A or like an E with 2 dots on top of it, where MySQL is going to see that as the exact same character. So that E with 2 dots on top of it is going to be the same as a normal E, but your server isn't going to think that way. Like in the URL, it's not going to be the same. So that way you could actually redirect the administrator to a redirectory URL that MySQL sees as the same as a normal one, but that actually throws a 404. And since that redirect URL contains the access token of the administrator, because the administrator is logged in, it is going to here say the admin didn't find anything at the URL with the access token, and you could then log in as the administrator. So this is a little bit of a crazy challenge. I hope that somebody is going to write a pretty cool write-up for this one, because I think just explaining it won't be possible to fully understand it. But definitely look into the MySQL collation issues and try to play around with that, and then I'm sure that you will be able to figure something out and ask the people that have solved it. I see Dragos is in the chat, for example, on Discord, so maybe somebody's willing to share their solution in Discord as well. Yeah. Wow, that was a lot to get through. But we got through the challenges. Awesome.
Yeah. Great. So I hope this actually satisfied your curiosity. Obviously, we've seen some nice, tricky, bypasses for a couple of things here. We need to continue to do a better job in, kind of like making sure we don't have bypasses. But, that's the nice thing about code. You're trying really hard to make it extremely focused on what you're trying to show, exactly like trying to write a feature. And then this is really, hard to make that the only vulnerability that exists. But it's great to see how you guys found creative ways to get around certain things. We really enjoyed it. First, I enjoyed writing them. I enjoy writing them every month. We're writing a couple. Robbie here, I'm sure you enjoyed Robbie writing them, and then people play with them. This is great, and this is hopefully it was useful and educational for you. Also fun. It was fun for us. So again, congratulations, congrats to the winners. Winner spot number 1 or place number 1 is Dragos. And then Hurion, and then Skitty. So that's first, second, and third place. You'll be contacted by marketing. And I stress again, please do write write-ups. and we will definitely review them. You will get swag, most certainly for most of those, and it's also an opportunity for you to rethink it and organize thoughts around it and become better. So again,
Definitely.
an educational opportunity. And anything you want to add, Robbie, before we break?
If there's any more questions, do let us know. And don't forget about the write-ups. Write some cool write-ups. Play the Code Golf game on Challenge 5 and write how you were able to give me the shortest one out of... Like, we will give some swag to the person who has the shortest payload and just writes a nice post about it. We will for sure give some swag to them. So
that would
go
be
ahead and do it.
Yeah, that would be very cool. And again, the game is now locked, but I'm going to reopen it for practice mode. Now it says practice mode, but it's locked. It is going to remain in practice mode, but open. I'm going to let you know in the Discord, so stay tuned. So if you want to, like, based on what you heard today, go back and try to solve things. That would be great. Yeah, it was really fun. Have a great evening or good night for those of you. It's very late in some places. If you're in the US, it's just the afternoon, but in Europe, it's late, and some other places can be even after midnight. So thank you, everyone. We'll wrap it up now, and we will contact you with the winners, and looking forward to seeing your write-ups.
Perfect. Thank you all for playing, and see you in the next one. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.